The following program on PBS 39 is made possible in part by
Excellence lives here in northeastern Indiana. It's reflected in more than 200 nationally recognized degrees. It drives our Division I sports. It's alive in our campus life. Excellence has a name, IPFW. Around our campus, around the country, around the world. Excellence lives here. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
For nearly 60 years, Arts United has worked to bring the rich, diverse talents of our region together through support of the arts, socially, culturally, and economically. Arts United, providing a home for the arts in Northeast Indiana.
This is Arts Weekly. Arts Weekly is produced in cooperation with the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design.
Welcome to Arts Weekly. I'm John O'Connell, Dean of the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Today's show is all about art and artists. In the second half of the show, local artist Terry Ratliff will be here as the first guest in our new series featuring Fort Wayne artists. But joining me now to talk about IPFW's Sculpture with Purpose public art project and Kickstart, a community-wide festival in downtown Fort Wayne this Saturday, May 17th, are my dear friend Irene Walters and my colleague Ruth Stone. Ladies, welcome to Arts Weekly and thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
It is a privilege to have you both on. I've worked with you in the last couple of years for this important project, and I feel privileged that we're at the cusp of it, the kickoff, and you're on my show to talk about it. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having
Irene, let's start with you. You've been with IPFW how long?
Since 1995.
And what do you do for IPFW?
I'm the Executive Director of University Relations and Communications, which means helping the image and the visibility of the university to flourish and to engage the university with the community and the community with the university.
So you're the person that helps us create that reciprocal umbilical cord we should have with our partners in the community.
Exactly.
And if you started in 1994, then did you start around the 40th anniversary? Was that?
No, the 40th anniversary was 2004.
2004. Oh, I don't know how to add, do I? I'm off by 10 years.
10 years
So
ago.
you had 10 years to get ready for it.
Exactly.
And that was a big event.
That
And
was a lot of fun.
It mirrors a little bit what we're doing right now for our 50th. What did you do for the 40th that was important?
We always look for a way to give back to the community, and at that point, for the 40th, there were no cows, painted cows like in Chicago or horses like in Louisville, and we wanted to do something that would showcase the talent of all our local artists. And we also wanted to raise the awareness of our mastodon, and everybody still calls it an elephant, but our
But it's a mastodon.
Right. So we decided to get 40 sponsors to paint a fiberglass mastodon, but there were so many people who wanted to do it that we ended up with a herd of 102.
Wow, that's impressive.
And the difference, however, between that project and what we're going to be doing with IPFW Sculpture with Purposes, that was supposed to be temporary, even though they're still
and the herd is still scattered around.
Right, at businesses and homes. That was a temporary one.
Right. So now we're at our 50th anniversary,
Right.
which is being celebrated this entire year. And is this the kickoff event this weekend? And this is the premier event of the year, the IPFW Sculpture with Purpose. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And we've been working on that. Ruth, what do you do at IPFW, Ruth?
Right now I am the project manager for IPFW Sculpture with Purpose.
It's that big of a project that we have a project manager.
Yes.
2.5 years.
2.5 years in the
work.
works, this project.
Yes.
It's a pretty significant event. What was the impetus for this idea? How did you come up with the idea of Sculpture for Purpose?
Well, art is very important to this community, and there have been many groups as part of the cultural district that talked about public art. We need it. And so Ruth did a lot of research and came up with the idea of public art, but adding a healthy style living with our award-winning trails and the need to attract young talent, we decided that we would do art, but with a purpose.
Right.
So it's art first, but the purpose is each of these sculptural or functional sculptures need to hold a bike.
And as the project manager, were you in charge of the whole idea of soliciting national artists and the project of getting it off the ground? Is that what you did as a project manager?
Yes, we came up with basically a business plan, a plan of how the project would be the most successful after talking to a lot of people in the community to get their feedback, and their questions really helped us form the plan, and then we executed the plan. And yes, that was my responsibility, but we obviously are a team, and we've had so much.
Yes, you are a team.
We are a team. We've had so much support from the people in the community, Arts United, the City of Fort Wayne.
But it is the
a lot of
pinnacle
groups.
event celebrating the 50th
It's our
anniversary.
flagship
It is the
event.
flagship event, absolutely. 2 years in the working. And we're going to have 50 sculptures then?
We're on 45 as of today. So
Great.
4 more are supposed to go in tomorrow. One, unfortunately, is delayed and will be after Saturday, but we will have 49 in by tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, 49 are installed.
45
No,
are
45, but
installed.
because of the
but
weather
still,
and the rain.
45 are
For
installed.
tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
you're ahead of the ball game. I'm way behind the
Yeah.
ball on this.
Well, you
I
haven't been
didn't realize.
downtown too
I have
much.
been down. I've seen
Oh.
a couple of them. I didn't realize we were on 45 already.
There's
That's
going to be
terrific.
34 of them there,
Downtown.
downtown.
There are
Ready
12
to
on
go.
campus and then 4 scattered a little bit wider
Corporate
outside of Fort Wayne.
headquarters.
Right. And is this project a fundraising event for IPFW as well?
In a sense, but fundraising in the sense we're raising $50,000 for our scholarships for students at IPFW. So that is part of it, and then it is raising awareness of our 50th anniversary and giving back to the community that has supported us for the past 50 years.
Right. Fort Wayne is in need of public art.
Yes.
And they have had some great stuff downtown at the Art Center,
Yes.
where the Performing Arts Center is and where the museum is and now the Hour Center. But we need to spread it out a little bit, and this is a wonderful project for that. Are they small? Are they put 1 bike on them? Can you put 10 bikes on them?
It varies. The requirement was that they have a spot for 1 bike to be on the sculpture, but we have some that have more. It really is across the board, and size really has nothing to do with how many bikes it holds. We have the tallest sculpture reaches 22 feet when it is fully extended. This one will be sponsored by Frontier, and it's by an artist named Jim Mers, who is local, and they will be on Berry, sort of in front of the United Way building, but on Frontier's side, and it will stand very tall, and it has this arm on the top that moves with the wind, and when that arm is fully up, it is 22 feet.
And as of late, it would have really been moving.
a lot
of
It's
that,
quite a lot of
yes,
wind.
yes.
When you say sponsor, what do you mean? Irene, did you go out and seek
Yes.
a lot of corporate sponsors? Or
Yes.
Yes.
We had 3 levels of sponsorship, a $10,000 level, a $5,000, and a $2,000. And according to what the corporation wanted to do, they chose one of those levels and then chose art sketches that artists had submitted to
Based on
match.
those 3 levels. So that means that the artists were proposing 3 different sizes as well. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. They could. They got
could.
to choose. We gave them all the options, and some artists did propose something for each level. Some even just downsized. They made something big and then downsized it for each level. It just depended on the artists themselves.
And the artists was a national ask, was it not?
It was
a
a
national
national ask,
request,
yes. We had-
And they are compensated.
Yes,
Oh,
they
yeah.
are, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
And how many submissions do you think you got?
160.
100. She knows.
Started.
That number comes right out from
Right.
160.
160,
I
yes.
know them all. Yeah, very well.
Were the designs, and then that with our selection committee was brought down to 50 designs, probably 60 actually, and then we went to each of the sponsors and let them see all of the designs, and they were able to pick the design that meant the most to them and talk about location
So
as well.
the sponsor gets to pick the design, pick the location, and have real input into how they can also influence Fort Wayne.
Absolutely,
Right.
but the location was also determined with the city of Fort Wayne.
Oh,
simply
of
because
course.
it's going in public right-of-way
Right.
or in public areas, so there were a lot of regulations that we had to
A
obey.
lot of negotiations
Yes.
that Ruth's been at the forefront of, I can
We
imagine.
both have,
We both
yes.
have.
Both have.
Yeah.
And we also had the artists make a little maquette of each sculpture so that in last October, we showed those samples to the sponsors, and they could give input then and say yay or nay or let's tweak it, that kind
Right,
of thing.
because a lot of people can't really judge off of a drawing.
No,
They have
correct.
to
You need to
judge
see
off of
dimension.
a nice little model, if you will, which we're, yeah.
And
Well, you have other partners as well. You have the Fort Wayne for Fitness, I think, is moving their mini...
Fort for Fitness.
Fort for Fitness is moving their event to this weekend as well around Kickstart. Is that correct?
Kickstart is the festival. We are
Okay.
kickstarting the festival season, and it starts with the Fort for Fitness spring cycle.
All right.
And then there's a Kids Start bike ride and other activities, and the centerpiece of the day, it will be at 11:30 when we have a little ceremony and we present the sculptures to our community.
And that is located where? Where will that event happen?
Right on the Main Street Art Campus in the Arts United Plaza.
Oh, so it's a family affair.
Totally,
Absolutely.
totally. And there are a lot of free events all day, performances, music, ballet, all kinds of things.
Food trucks.
And food.
Food, lots of food.
Food trucks.
Yeah.
That's important.
That is, and the Downtown Improvement District is sponsoring trolley rides to take people around to see them. And that starts at noon, and every 20 minutes you could hop on one. And it takes our community citizens to stores and to restaurants and to see all 34 of the sculptures.
That are placed downtown. You must be blocking Main Street off. It's just like we do
closed.
for Three Rivers Fest.
Yes.
That whole
Yes.
block will be blocked off, and it's a big family affair.
Well, and that's because there are 1,000 runners. I mean, not runners, but cyclists.
cyclists starting
who are going to
out.
start at 9:30.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And it's the first day of the Bar Street Market as well, which is on Bar Street, obviously. So that a portion of Bar Street will be closed as well. So it will be a great opportunity for families to walk and have access to a lot of things on foot and a variety of activities in one day.
It's a wonderful mixture of all the great things that IPFW has. We have, as you said, we have these fantastic bike trails. I think the Bar Street Market is one of the best secrets about Fort Wayne, because I don't have to fight with people too often when I go down there. But I'm glad that that's going to be open at the same time.
Yes.
Because I think people really need to get aware of the kind of farmers markets we have here in Fort Wayne.
I want to mention one
yes.
special thing about the day, that it is when our Find the Triangle contest starts. And I think you know that every sculpture had to have one essential component, and that was the IPFW triangle in some form. And so we're having this treasure hunt to ask families and kids to go look, find the triangle, search. Some are easy, some are not so easy. And then to take a picture of themselves with the triangle and post it on our Facebook page. Then,
Which is on your Facebook page.
Facebook.com
Okay.
/IPFW Sculpture with Purpose.
All right, great.
And then there will be names drawn for each of the bikes, and the person whose name is drawn will win a $100 gift certificate.
Great. We've talked too much. I would like to see a couple of pictures of the sculptures before we move on to our next segment. So if we could just quickly look through some of these pictures that I don't think we've had the opportunity to look at. Just look at that. That's a bike rack, huh?
That is a bike rack. That is Art Deco. It was done by Delineation Architecture and Interior Design, a local company, architecture, obviously, company. That is Giant Party Toothpicks. That was done by an artist who is from Indianapolis, Joan Drizzen. And
I love the colors.
it's very bright.
colorful.
It's beautiful.
Aha.
Bike is by
Bike.
a local.
That's what I need in art. Tell me this is a bike rack and I'll put a bike on it.
Exactly. This is by a local artist named Bob Keel. He is also the creative director for Ferguson Advertising.
And he's done 5 of them for
Yes,
this
he's
project.
done many. And
Awesome.
this is Confluence. This was the very first one. It actually
Right.
went in September
And this is on
2012.
the plaza of the Performance Center.
Fryman
down-
Square.
The
Yes,
Fryman
on
Square. Oh, it's
Square.
on Fryman Square, right.
And
It's
it
been
was
down
done
for a
by
while,
Design
yes.
Collaborative. And this is another local artist, Greg Mendez, and this is on Washington, and it's called Welcome.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me on Arts Weekly. It's a pleasure to have you on. It's a really exciting event, and I'm excited about Saturday. And I know the town's going to turn out to see these beautiful. I've already heard people talk about driving by and saying, "Have you seen
Great.
all that?"
Good.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. It's already getting word of mouth. So thank you very much for being here to celebrate.
Thank you,
it
and
with
we'll
us.
see you
Thank
on
you.
Saturday.
You will
Yes.
see me on
See
Saturday.
you Saturday.
Please take this minute to view our performance calendar of what's coming up in our area, and I'll be right back with our first ever featured Fort Wayne artist, Terry Ratliff. We'll be right back. I'm very pleased to introduce our new segment, giving us the opportunity to introduce you to the individual artists of Fort Wayne. Our first guest in this new segment we are calling Featured Fort Wayne Artist is well-known and nationally respected artist Terry Ratliff. Terry, welcome to Arts Weekly, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
I think it's been a little while since you've been on Arts Weekly.
About 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, Chuck O'Connor was the host when he was the previous dean, so thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And I'm so pleased when we decided to start a new segment called Featured Fort Wayne Artists, you came to the forefront of my list of who I wanted to have on. Because I've arrived 7 years ago, and one of the first names I heard about a successful local artist and to be celebrated was Terry Ratliff. And I don't go anywhere in Fort Wayne that someone doesn't know that you're the hometown artist to be celebrated. So
that's nice to hear that.
I'm privileged that you're on. I feel privileged that you're on the show.
Thank you.
And I really wanted you to be the first one that we could sort of personally introduce to the community a little bit more in depth about who you are as an artist and sort of what makes you tick. So thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You started as an artist when? At what age did you start?
3 or 4 years old. My mom was a painter, and so I'd watch her paint in awe. And, I just picked it up, and, the gifts that I wanted for Christmas was, coloring books and crayons and pens and pencils and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I was always drawing.
Yeah.
Always.
So you had paint in the house all the time if your mother was an artist. What kind of artist was your mother? Was she landscapes?
She was a very, very, very good portrait artist. I mean, she could, and even sketching. Sometimes in college when I had certain assignments for my art class, I would ask her, what's wrong with this? And she would look at it right away and say, oh, you need to change this, and boom. She was just a natural.
Did you have to ask her? Or did she offer the advice?
She offered the advice, which is good, but, she always knew that, she always let me be the artist that I wanted to be. She was very supportive. If that's what I wanted to do in my life, then yeah, go for it.
Well, if you have an artist in the family, I think the first thing you have to do is let them be the artist they want to be.
Of course.
No matter what that may be, a performing artist or a visual artist, you have to let them be the artist they want to be. Was your mother an educated artist? Did she have formal training?
Self-taught, basically. Just did it because she loved it. She would paint paintings of friends of hers, or or somebody that maybe had passed away. That she would honor them, and it would always be at the funeral or something like that. So she painted a lot.
Would you say she was a realist? Portraiture?
Pretty much, yeah.
It was, yeah.
Definitely.
It was as close to reality as she could get.
And I kind of took the abstract.
You did take the
abstract.
Yeah, we're going to look at some of your images in a few minutes, and some of them do have portraits in them to a certain extent, and we'll talk about that. But you did go to the abstract.
I did.
So did you study it? Did you formally study art?
Yes, I did. I went to Franklin College on a football scholarship, of all things.
Really?
Yeah. And
wow.
Yeah, I was a big boy.
I don't mean to sound so surprised.
I was a big boy then.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And I met my art professor his name was Luigi Crispino, and he was amazing. And he lit a fire under me, really. I mean, he saw something. He saw something that he knew that I was going to do this the rest of my life, but he didn't want me to settle for what I already thought I knew, because I think a lot of young artists, they think they've arrived. They think that their art is the best art, and why aren't people buying it?
Absolutely.
And I kind of maybe had that chip on my shoulder, and he knocked it off, and he brought me down to level, and just said, you're not anything. You're not a true artist until you've worked your whole life to be an artist. People have your works in their collections for the rest of their life that they're going to pass down to their next generations. Or you're 75, 80 years old, and you're in the country somewhere painting for yourself for hours on end.
Because you have to.
Yeah.
Because the passion
you have
drives
to get
you.
it out
Yeah,
of you.
absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I find that with young actors when I'm teaching an acting class. They'll come in from high school and they were in the star of the production of Oklahoma, and I think, oh, I have so much to untrain you at. Yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So did you go into college as a painter? I mean,
Yeah, I was an art major, and I played football, and then after I graduated from college, I was like, what do I do now? I had a teaching minor, and I've taught 4th grade, 5th grade before, but I just started waiting tables. It was my hippie years.
Right.
Had long hair. I looked like Jesus.
Yeah.
And just started showing artwork, and worked for a frame shop part-time, which kind of helped me frame my stuff. And so it just it was an evolution. And then I think the biggest thing, I always said when I was 30 I was going to go to France. I was going to tour Europe, and I was going to paint as much as I could and bring it back. Well, I ended up doing that, and then I met the Casaburo family, who own the Casa restaurants.
Here in town.
Yes.
Right.
And that was the biggest step I could ever take.
Because they have really celebrated you.
Oh my goodness.
As an artist.
Yeah, I mean,
talk a little bit about what that means to have a patronage like that.
Oh my goodness. Well, how many restaurants in Fort Wayne or anywhere, will commission an artist to do 20 to 35 paintings for their restaurants? But I think that was the way that they have great food, great prices, and they invest in local art. So you can't go wrong with that.
But they don't just hang your art. Here we have it on the screen right now. This is some of the art that's hanging in.
That's Main Street Bistro.
That's Main Street Bistro.
Yes.
That's not one of the Casa houses.
So
you
new
do
restaurant.
it for other restaurants as well.
Oh yeah.
But you have done murals for Casa, not just paintings, correct?
Oh yeah. There's the DuPont restaurant has a 128-foot mural, which I think is probably the biggest mural around.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah,
That's
it was fun.
How much time does one put into
Oh my goodness.
to a mural that size?
It's so hard to tell because when you're on and you're into a project, there's time kind of disappears and you're just going for it.
Right.
So, besides painting it in my studio and then installing it, because I think it's about 20 feet up. And then I would be on this lift that I could control and just go and do touch-ups. So, a month maybe.
So is it an installation or is it an actual mural that you painted on the wall?
I like to paint in my studio and then install.
Oh, okay.
I always try to tell people, if you want, everybody wants a mural on their wall.
Right.
You can't take it with you.
Right.
It's not really worth anything to anybody or, to you, because are you going to live in this place
Exactly.
the rest of your life?
Exactly.
So I always try to, have it on panels, install it. You can frame it out on a wall to make it look like it is the wall.
Right.
But,
Do you do miniatures?
oh yeah.
If you do that, do you do a study first?
I'm not
or-
really good at studying.
You're not good at studying?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
Sometimes I'll get a commission or a job. They say, well, I want to see a mock-up or whatever, and I said, okay, I'll work on one, and then I just start on the painting and say, oh, here's the mock-up. It's the painting you're actually going to get.
Yeah.
Because I think that the energy of the spontaneity of painting and the emotion, the feeling that you have on any certain day, that goes into it. If I draw it up, then I go to paint it, it's going to look totally different than what I drew up.
Takes out that,
Yeah,
particular way that you like to work.
that
There's
spontaneous
little
energy.
Spontaneous energy. As we see some of the pictures of the artwork that you do, you are really, one of the things I notice when I see your art is color. You really, really are not afraid of color. And you are bold. You take some bold choices with color. Tell me a little bit about that. Have you always done that? Have you felt comfortable? Because there are artists who just don't feel comfortable.
No, I don't think I was always, especially when I got to school on my freshman year, I painted so darkly. Everything was black.
Right.
And my professor threw
You
my
were
black
20
away.
and you had the long hair.
Yeah, I had the long
exactly.
hair. But my twin sister had just died when I was 19 and we just graduated. So I was really in a dark place, and I didn't understand it. I was sad. And then I got to a point where, you know what, I'm going to start living, and living through the colors of my life, And so I think that evolved to be my palette.
So you have the good fortune then that your art is a reflection. You use your art as a therapy, so to speak, to get through the day-to-day
If I'm having a terrible time or a terrible week or something, I'll paint something that I really like and put that emotion into it, and you walk away from it, and then it goes somewhere else. That's why people always, there's a lot of artists that I don't want to sell that piece.
Right.
I lived it. I'm done with it.
Well, that's so interesting because I'm astounded by that. I'm new to the dean's job, and so I'm new to the visual artist because I come from theater. And I'm astounded when I meet these 20-year-olds and they're like, oh, I don't want to look at that piece ever again. Please sell it, do something with it. I'm like, really? You just put your life in? No, I didn't. I'm done with it.
Yeah,
I find
done
that
with
very
it.
interesting.
Yeah, there was an art rep years ago, and I showed her artwork, and she said, she just went around $100, $75, $50, and I'm like, are you kidding me? These are great paintings.
Right.
They were okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, well, I really don't want to sell that one, and she's like, oh, are you going to stop painting after this?
So
are you
you
gonna paint more?
You have a life as an artist. You are successfully self-employed as a producing artist. That's hard to do now?
Oh, yeah.
It is, yeah.
It's very hard to do. I mean, when you have to do the work and market yourself and be that person, and then my donations are, it's almost half of my art business is my donations.
Your donations.
I
That's
donate
the other,
to so many causes.
I'm glad that you brought that up because that's one of the important aspects and why I say at the beginning of the segment that Fort Wayne is fortunate to have you because everybody said to me when I arrived, he will be involved in all of these organizations by his donations. So you do significant donations for Francine's project.
Francine's Friends. Every year,
you do a large donation for that.
Yeah, I design their note cards, which they give to each table who attends, and then I print 45 or 25 giclées that they sell for $1,000 a piece, and every year they sell all 25, and that's $25,000.
Right. That's
so. I mean, and it means so much to people who can't get mammographies,
Right.
they can go there and do this.
And you have a gallery. Let's talk. We have just a minute left. What about a gallery? You have a gallery downtown, or you?
I have a house downtown, and I've
house.
moved. I had the firehouse that's next to Paul's on Main Street for a while there, and then someone else wanted it. I have a house that I work out of, and I'm constantly looking for space downtown.
Right.
And
Well,
I really, anybody out there have space downtown,
Let Terry know.
let me have it.
Call me.
Well, not have it.
Well, thank you for being our first
Thank you.
featured Fort Wayne artist. I feel honored to have you on the show, and I look forward to your upcoming work.
I appreciate it.
I'm John O'Connell, Dean of the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. On the next Arts Weekly, I'll be joined by Karen Richards from the Mayor's Office and Nicole Kiesling from the Mayor's Youth Engagement Council to learn all about Riverpalooza, taking place May 31st. Then Philip Colglazer from the Fort Wayne Civic Theater shares all the details behind the Northeast Indiana Playwright Festival that starts May 30th. For up-to-the-minute arts updates, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And be sure to join us here Thursday evenings at 7:30 on PBS 39. Thanks for watching Arts Weekly.
The preceding program on PBS 39 was made possible in part by
Excellence lives here in northeastern Indiana. It's reflected in more than 200 nationally recognized degrees. It drives our Division I sports. It's alive in our campus life. Excellence has a name, IPFW. Around our campus, around the country, around the world. Excellence lives here. Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. One university, two great names.
For nearly 60 years, Arts United has worked to bring the rich, diverse talents of our region together through support of the arts, socially, culturally, and economically. Arts United, providing a home for the arts in Northeast Indiana.